At the military base, the soldiers received information that a serpent is approaching the Allies' base. The commander gave an order shouting out to the extermination squad to prepare them for combat. That was the first appearance of a legendary ranked monster in the world. The soldiers were terrified on sighting the huge monster. The commander told the soldiers to remain calm, maintain their position, and finish the battle preparation. The extermination squad is composed of the highest ranking soldiers that are called players. One of them is Choi Hyung-sung, who was awakened lately around 1 year ago. Choi Hyung-sung was a 27-year-old guy. 3 years ago, he was an ordinary college student. A twist in fate occurred when his father was inflicted with a terminal disease called Manhwa reflux. His father developed the terminal disease around 19 years ago, when the dimensional gate was opened. As the dimensional gate opened, humanity was faced huge changes. The biggest changes comes when people began to awaken, and they started possessing a power called mana. But the dimensional gate was both a blessing and a curse to humanity, as the underworld monsters that traveled through the dimensional gate inflicted unimaginable damage to humanity, and the terminal disease like the mana reflex begins to spread. The players who have awakened with a power of mana start to solve humanity's problem one at a time. As a result, players and their industry-related workers had amassed incredible wealth over time. But to Choi and his family, the dimensional gate is nothing but a curse. However, Choi's father caught a material of the inhibitor that would lower the symptoms of mana reflux from a rare ranked monster. But it was obvious that the inhibitor's price was extremely high. Choi's mother began working a second job. His sister had to take all the money she saved for marriage preparations, and she even had to take on a part-time job after her company job ended just to make ends meet, but still they don't have enough money. Choi believes that if he had awakened, those kinds of problem wouldn't be anything, as he would have the power to demolish a house-sized boulder with his bare fist and jump across buildings. It would be nice if I became a player, Choi thought to himself. Choi wonders how nice it would be if he had been a player, as it was said that players make huge sums of money that is unimaginable to the ordinary people, but the path to becoming a player is still unknown, and the chance to awaken is not different from the chance of winning a lotto. There has to be a way, he thought. He so much wants to be a player, even more in the present time. If people became players just because they desperately desire it, all of humanity would probably have been players. Choi decides to take his bath and go to sleep. Just out of the blues, a status window appeared with a message that he had been awakened. Choi was excited. It was a dream come true. It was as if the heavens are open to bless him. Apparently, there are people who have won lottery and have died of heart attack, Choi said to himself, trying to avoid unnecessary expectations. Choi prayed that he would have a good stat from the status window. Normally, his base stat should have started from 10, even though it is based on lux. Choi felt bad. He wondered why, if he had been so cursed enough, not to have had the total combined stats measured up to 40 for him. Other players usually have an average of 50, but in his case he had 18. However, there are only 5 unassigned stat points for leveling up. Choi would have to level up 6 to 7 more times to reach the same level as that of a level 1 player. He thought himself unlucky as he doesn't possess an active or passive skill, even while he should normally possess 1 or 2 skills by default. He believes that even though his stats are lacking, if he acquires a good skill, he will be treated like a king in a party. Choi thought that no high-ranking guilds would have eager to recruit him. Players normally advanced into the tanks, DPS, or healer type of players once they go through their first awakening. Although this happens to 99% of players, which would definitely be 1 out of every 3 players. But here is a rare gem, a genius on the stage. Kim Hana had finished her first and second advancement level is one of those geniuses, by using 1 buff skill and quickly raising her levels by getting carried by high-level players at a young age. She is a buffer, a rare kind of skill that not even 10 people have all over the world. She is the only one in South Korea that possesses the skill. Conversely, there are players who are unable to escape their low levels. Those players receive decent stat lines and skills at first. For the past 19 years, there hasn't been a single player without a skill. Choi continued to stare at the stat window. He was amazed that it all looked like a currency game. He saw the legendary rank on the stat window, and it was the highest item rank known to the public rank, and it is an item that common rank buyers cannot purchase. A new player has to accumulate 10 billion points after awakening. Choi thought that there must be a high-ranking item than that of the legendary, and if that is true, he believes that he could find a cure for his father's disease. Then he noticed an elixir. Elixirs are commonly known as omnipotent medicine that can cure all diseases. If I just have this, he thought to himself. Choi got to know that hidden stat increase medicine exists. He told of buying and selling it. He thought that if he keeps buying powers and skills with that kind of exclusive skill, he could become an incredible cheat character. He saw the need to think strategically. A nut appears from the stats window into his hands. He ate the nut and his stat STR raised by 1 point. He felt a new surge of strength within himself. He plans to utilize the points so that he can become stronger. Choi decides to sell his skills book by registering it on the sales window with a huge price, as there is no need for him to worry about losing the valuable skill. He got to know that 20% of the payment for the item he wants to list will be deducted as sales tax. He had no other choice than to proceed and start to refine the foundation properly. Choi purchased the beginner's stat increase medicine, and on the next day he had the appearance of an old man and he went to register as a player. He was surprised when he was called an elder by the registrar, who asked if he is sure of his reawakening. The registrar informed him that the oldest awakening age is 58 years, and that she said that there is no one at Choi's age that has awakened. Choi was thought to have been suffered from dementia since he looks too old to be awakened, and he was thought to have forgotten his identity. He was taken out of the hall by an official. Back in his home, he sees that less than a year and a half is left for him to increase his points. He looked at the items before him and wondered if those things would ever be sold out. The items looked good and seems to be working fine. He thought that he could sell off an item for 50,000 to 60,000 points since it was a second-hand item, and he had no choice than to take the risk that there are still more than 40 games in the highly priced item. He registered all the items, and he continues to upload them on the stats registration portal. There was a player that showed all the items being uploaded. She was tired of all the items, as they are all regular items that she used to see on the stat every day. She even have some of the items. She complained of the players being too competitive and how the market economy was able to capitalize on this and offer them just any available items. Suddenly, she saw that a god level item has been registered to the stat. She was very excited and she bought the item immediately. Choi's wrinkles got smaller after he sold the item. He learned that his points can increase his lifespan and that he can lose and gain points. Kim Hana was one of the players that brought one of Choi's valuable item. She brought a smartphone from the stats portal. She was fascinated by what the mobile phone could do and that she could take pictures of herself, and she felt that the smartphone had a magical skill of adding various features to her pictures. Another lady bought many of Choi's items but did not know how to use them. Choi continues to register items on the stat. He receives complaints from a customer. He was warned that complaints from customer could lower his seller's rating and affect his credibility as his business would get suspended. Choi decides to lower the prices of the items, but was surprised that all of the items that were listed on the stat had been sold out. He was surprised as he had earlier thought that no one could buy those items. He plans to raise the price a little bit. Choi received complaints from 70% of his clients for 14 items that are malfunctioning. One of his clients, Bikwa, who bought a smartphone, complains that though the smartphone is a unique item, but it got broken in less than 6 hours. Choi was quick to understand that Bikwa is new to using a gadget like smartphone. He knows clearly that the phone battery had run down and needs to be recharged. The other clients complained about charged wristwatches, Zippo lighter, cigarette, beer. Choi is to take a 3-day suspension because of the complaints, and he is expected to fix the user's problems with the items within the space of 7 days. Otherwise, his business would be suspended for 3 months. Choi thought of putting out his old smartphone again and accompanying it with a magic stone charger that fits it once the suspension is over. He thought that the customers must have had players with similar skills like him. He was amazed that they might not come from the earth, as he wondered why they were buying his old electronic devices. He wondered if his customers could be aliens living on a planet where technology is lagging behind. Choi could have sold the book skill, but because he had not been registered as a player, he thought that it would be wise to sell technological and scientific products to the aliens. Choi had 9 seconds left to the end of his business suspension. He was happy at the prospect of uploading items on the stat. Choi received a complaint from Jespit Nim, who was one of his buyers. He was warned by the stat that if complaint persists, his seller's rating may fall, and he may be temporarily suspended. Choi received another shocking message that he had complaints on the 20 items he sold the previous day. 100% of those items are said to be temporarily defective products. He was suspended for 4 more days, and he was given up to 1 week to get the matter resolved. Choi viewed the first complaint from Nintendo. His client and a fellow player, who brought the game console, accused Choi of selling a broken item to him and requested that he post the unbroken item with 3 seconds or face his wrath. Choi was shocked. Alas, he forgot to add the battery. Choi got many rude complaints from his clients, and he was angry that the clients are misbehaving, even though they knew he could upload the items if they have waited enough.